December 19, 2024. After 5 years and 4 months of legal limbo, Sara Gilbert's divorce from musician Linda Perry was finally finalized. What began as an elaborate proposal in a Los Angeles park in 2013 and a fairy tale wedding in Malibu in 2014 had dissolved into years of therapy, ketamine treatments, and painful co-parenting negotiations. For the woman who grew up as Darlene Connor, America's sharp-tongued sitcom teenager, life has been a series of battles. Battles with identity, with love, with loss, and with a family legacy that demanded she prove herself worthy from the moment she could speak. This is the real story of Sara Gilbert, the one hidden behind decades of laughter on screen and heartbreak behind closed doors. Sara Rebecca Abeles was born on January 29, 1975 in Santa Monica, California. Her parents, Barbara Cowan and Harold Abeles, came from Jewish families steeped in show business. Her maternal grandfather was Harry Crane, the legendary creator of The Honeymooners. Her grandmother, Julia Crane, had been crowned Miss Brooklyn. Her mother, Barbara, worked as a producer and Hollywood talent manager, constantly surrounded by actors, scripts, and the machinery of fame. Growing up in that environment, Sara was acutely aware of what success looked like. More importantly, she was aware of what failure felt like. When she was just 6 years old, she watched her half-sister Melissa Gilbert receive a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Melissa and her brother Jonathan had already become household names on Little House on the Prairie. They received attention, gifts, opportunities. Sara, still a child, watched from the sidelines and thought to herself, "I want to be an actress too." But there was a problem. Her last name was Abeles, not Gilbert. So she made a decision that would define her entire identity. She changed her surname to Gilbert, taking the name from her mother's first husband, Paul Gilbert, who had adopted Melissa and Jonathan. It wasn't just about fitting in, it was about belonging to a legacy that felt just out of reach. By the time she was 5 years old, she'd landed her first Kool-Aid commercial. That small role became her ticket out of traditional schooling, which she hated. She later admitted she felt miserable in regular classrooms, constantly bored and disconnected. Acting gave her purpose, but it also gave her pressure. She wasn't just Sara anymore. She was Sara Gilbert, and she had something to prove. In 1988, at just 13 years old, Sara landed the role that would define her career. She became Darlene Connor on the hit ABC sitcom Roseanne. For 9 seasons, from 1988 to 1997, audiences watched her character grow from a tomboyish young girl into a politically aware, artistic teenager. Her performance earned her 3 consecutive Young Artist Awards between 1991 and 1993, along with Emmy nominations in 1993 and 1994. She even wrote an episode titled "Don't Make Me Over," which aired during the show's 4th season, an early sign of her creative ambition beyond acting. But the timing of her success was brutal. Most teenagers wrestle with awkwardness and self-discovery in private. Sara had to go through it in front of millions of viewers. She later admitted she felt painfully shy, often overwhelmed by the contrast between public adoration and the very real loneliness of adolescence. Even years later, while working on ER in the early 2000s, she would hide from studio tour groups, too shy to face strangers watching her. Despite the emotional toll, Sara was determined to pursue her education. In 1993, she enrolled at Yale University while still filming Roseanne. It was a grueling schedule. She would fly to Los Angeles on Thursdays to film, take a red-eye flight back to New York on Sundays, then catch a train to Connecticut for classes. She graduated with honors in 1997, an accomplishment that required relentless discipline. But even as she was excelling academically and professionally, she was carrying another weight, a secret that was becoming harder and harder to hide. During her teenage years on Roseanne, Sara began a relationship with her co-star Johnny Galecki, who played David Healy. On screen, Darlene and David became one of the most beloved couples on the show. Off-screen, Sara and Johnny were also dating. She later described him as super cute, admitting she'd had a crush on him. They spent time together, making out like most young couples. But something felt wrong. After these moments of intimacy, Sara often felt depressed and confused. She couldn't understand why being close to him left her unsettled rather than happy. Eventually, she realized the problem wasn't Johnny. It was her. She was gay. In the 1990s, Hollywood was still a dangerous place for LGBTQ actors. She was terrified of the consequences if the truth came out. Would she lose her career? Would casting directors stop offering her roles as straight characters? These questions haunted her, and for years, she kept her sexuality hidden from everyone except Johnny. To his credit, Johnny was deeply supportive. When Sara finally confessed her feelings and told him she was gay, he responded with compassion rather than rejection. Years later, in 2010, when she prepared to come out publicly on The Talk, she asked his permission to share details about their past relationship. He gave his blessing, telling her he loved her, was proud of her, and would even appear on the show to hold her hand if she needed him. Their bond became less about romance and more about lifelong friendship. Still, the secrecy took its toll. For years, Sara kept her private life carefully hidden. Even when she began her first same-sex relationship, she shielded it from the spotlight, fearing exposure. Coming out in 2010 felt like liberation, but she admitted the fear never fully disappeared. "I try to act confident," she confessed, "but there's still a part of me wondering what it's costing me in my career." After years of hiding, Sara finally found what seemed like stability in a long-term relationship with television writer Allison Adler. From 2001 until 2011, the couple built a family together. In 2004, they welcomed their son Levi Hank. In 2007, their daughter Sawyer Jane was born. To outsiders, it seemed like Sara had finally created the steady, loving home she longed for. But in 2011, after a decade together, the relationship ended. On an emotional episode of The Talk, Sara cried as she reflected on the breakup, questioning whether love could truly last a lifetime. The pain was visible, and though the split was publicly described as amicable, reports later suggested Allison felt blindsided when Sara moved on so quickly. Just a few years later, Sara entered another high-profile relationship, this time with musician Linda Perry, best known as the lead singer of Four Non-Blondes. Their romance was intense and public from the beginning. In April 2013, Perry orchestrated an elaborate proposal in a Los Angeles park. She sang The Cure's love song accompanied by a guitar player and a brass band. Fans in the park wore t-shirts spelling out "Will you marry me?" Then, to Sara's shock, singer John Waite appeared, performing Missing You. Sara was overwhelmed, calling it the most amazing proposal ever. They married in March 2014 in Malibu, and on The Talk, Sara spoke about how marriage made her feel safer, more committed, and ready to face challenges together. In February 2015, they welcomed their son Rhodes Emilio. Linda later released an album titled Dear Sounds, inspired by Rhodes' arrival. For a time, they appeared to be a united front, attending family lunches and public events together. But once again, happiness slipped away. On August 13, 2019, Sara and Linda separated. Just months earlier, in April 2019, Sara had tearfully announced she was leaving The Talk after 9 years. She explained to the audience that her life was out of balance, admitting she couldn't keep up with her career while also giving her children the time and attention they needed. Later, in interviews with Deadline and Variety, Sara revealed another reason for her relief. She was an intensely private person, and the pressure of discussing her personal life on national television had become exhausting. In December 2019, she filed for legal separation from Linda, citing irreconcilable differences. Linda later said that despite the split, they would always remain family, but the end of the marriage left Sara devastated. She admitted undergoing months of therapy and even ketamine treatment to process the grief. "I want to live a true life," she said, acknowledging that even though things do get better, the struggle never fully disappears. Her physical health had also suffered. After Rhodes' birth, she admitted she had let exercise and self-care slip away entirely. By 2017, she made a conscious effort to reclaim her health through Prevention's Spread the Health Challenge, committing to just 15 minutes of movement each day. It was a small routine, but it helped lift her mood and improve her energy. Still, the fact that she had to relearn how to prioritize her own well-being was a reminder of how much she had sacrificed for work and family. The legal dissolution of her marriage to Linda dragged on for years. In April 2024, Sara filed to make the separation permanent. In October 2024, she asked for an uncontested dissolution, noting they'd been legally separated since October. Finally, on December 19, 2024, the divorce was finalized. Their primary concern remained co-parenting their 9-year-old son Rhodes. According to sources, they don't hate each other and are still communicating, but the chapter had officially closed. While Sara was navigating her personal turmoil, she was also dealing with profound loss from her past. In December 2002, her former Roseanne co-star Glenn Quinn died of a heroin overdose at the age of 32. Quinn, who played Mark Healy, the rebellious yet lovable boyfriend and later husband of Becky Connor, had struggled with addiction for years. During the original run of Roseanne, he had often been in good health. But after the show ended in 1997, his demons resurfaced. By the time he joined the cast of Angel, a spin-off of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, his condition had worsened. His untimely death shocked the cast and fans alike. For Sara, the loss was personal. In 2018, when Roseanne was revived, she and Johnny Galecki discussed what to name their character's fictional son. Without hesitation, Sara suggested Mark as a tribute to Quinn. Johnny agreed immediately, and their choice ensured his memory lived on in the new generation of the Connor family. On the talk, Sara admitted the decision was emotional but necessary, honoring a friend who had been like family. Just as the cast was beginning to celebrate the success of the reboot, another storm erupted. In May 2018, Roseanne Barr posted a racist tweet about Valerie Jarrett, an advisor to President Barack Obama. The backlash was immediate and fierce. Within hours, ABC canceled the reboot, ending what could have been a triumphant new chapter. Sara was one of the first cast members to condemn Barr's actions publicly, calling them abhorrent. Her statement distanced the cast from the scandal, but it also fueled Barr's anger. In later interviews, Barr accused Sara of betrayal, claiming she had destroyed her life and career. The feud grew bitter, with Barr lashing out repeatedly while Sara stayed firm in her stance. The incident not only ended their professional relationship, but also cast a permanent shadow over the legacy of the show that had defined Sara's career. The spin-off, The Connors, continued without Roseanne, and Sara remained a central figure in the series. On April 23, 2025, The Connors aired its final episode. After 7 seasons and 112 episodes, Sara said goodbye to Darlene Connor for the second time in her life. She described the cast as feeling like family, acknowledging the laughter and bonds forged over the years. For loyal fans, it was a heart-wrenching goodbye to a show that had tackled working-class life with humor and heart. At 50 years old, Sara is now living a quieter life, prioritizing her 3 children. Levi Hank is 20, Sawyer Jane is 17, and Rhodes is 9. She's learned to push against her natural instinct to say no to new experiences, admitting that often, when she engages, it turns out to be fun. Sara Gilbert's story is not one of a single tragedy. It's the accumulation of heartbreak, loss, and relentless pressure that has followed her from childhood into adulthood. She faced early fame, identity battles, public controversies, and heartbreaking separations. She buried a co-star who felt like family. She endured the betrayal of a mentor whose actions destroyed a show she'd helped revive. She survived 2 failed long-term relationships and the exhaustion of raising 3 children while managing a demanding career. Through it all, she's continued to work, to parent, and to carve out a quieter life for herself. The girl who changed her name to Belong finally learned, after 50 years, that she was enough all along.